Word First Radio.
Hey, what's up, you guys? Welcome to Word First Radio, the podcast brought to you by Word First Ministries. I am your host, Jacob O'Neill, and as always, I'm joined by my friend Cameron.
Hello.
And today, we are being joined by the wonderful, our good friend. He's our friend, right? He would.
I would say that about him. I wouldn't expect him to make that commitment
I
about
guess
us.
he can call us. The thing is we make that joke every time we have somebody on the podcast. But anyways, we're going to move on from that. John Ingve
Hello,
is
everyone.
here. Say hi nice and loud for everyone.
Hi.
Awesome.
It's good to be here.
You excited to be here?
I am.
Awesome. Well, we have Jon here. We're going to have him introduce himself in a bit. But Jon, if it's okay if I say, has decided to plan our church with us.
Woo, this is where we put in the applause recording.
The applause sound effect. Yes. That's awesome and super humbling. And this is the first, I guess, new member of our church plant that we're introducing to everyone.
Yeah.
So no pressure, my friend. But why don't we we'll kick this thing off. Just introduce yourself to our listeners back in California. Who is John Ingve?
Yeah, so I would pronounce my name John Ingve.
Okay.
But I mean, I get so many variants.
Yeah.
My name is very difficult actually to like, how would you say it, communicate in Norwegian because there are many variants that sound similar.
Yeah.
But I am I'm 25. I am Norwegian. I was born in the west of Norway, in a small town called Bryne, and these days, besides being part of this awesome church plant, I'm working as a software engineer in a tech company here in Oslo, where we make 3D cameras. And what else is there? I don't know. I'm very excited about this.
Nice
time.
That's
Yeah.
super cool because I mean we needed an engineer at some point.
I say it was bound to happen. I don't know if it was bound to happen, but
Right.
it's good that it has.
Yeah, that's so very cool. Yeah, I mean we've been friends with you for some time now. We
Yeah.
first met you. Cam, how about I want to get you in on this because
Okay.
it can't just be me talking to
All right.
Jon Ingve. But when did we first meet him? Because I actually don't completely remember, to be honest.
Yeah, it's actually a beautiful story.
Yeah.
So, Jacob, you and I were playing in the band for Worship Weekend in Oslo Centrum.
Yeah, that was about 5 months ago. Yeah,
Is that one?
ish. Yeah.
I believe you. And so that Saturday morning, so every Saturday we have family breakfast, which is a Bible study. We've talked about it on the podcast before. And people started inviting people, and John Ingve was one of the ones who was invited. So we have a friend called David, a Colombian fellow who is a part of Grace International Church here in Oslo. And he is roommates with John Ingve. And so Jacob and I were playing in the band for this thing, and Whitney messaged me because the rest of the team, besides you and myself, handled all the things that needed to happen on Saturday morning to host people for breakfast and Bible study. And Whitney said, yeah, we met this guy. And she had trouble with your name because we had not heard Ingve, but we have a friend called Ingve, which is a girl's name.
Yes, yeah.
And she goes, his name was, I know it wasn't Ingve because that's a girl's name, but it was something. I don't remember. It was John something. He said, call him John. So I'm going to call him John. Okay. And she just shared with us this beautiful story. She's like, it was just like, I've told you this too, just exactly what she needed. The way she told the story was, he asked me, like, do we have an open home? And I didn't know how to answer that because we don't really have an open home the way other people do, but we do open it up for certain things, including family breakfast on Saturday. And he just told me he thought it was really beautiful that we opened up our home to do something like this. And that was just exactly the encouragement she needed at that time. Because Whitney is private and Whitney is introverted. It takes a lot of energy for her to have to be around people. And I buffer a lot of that for her. So when I'm here, I can do a lot of the hosting and all of the interacting so she doesn't feel so on the spot and so drained. And so that was just like, it was a gift from the Spirit for you to give to her, just to tell her it was really beautiful that she opened up her home and was a blessing in that way. So, and then we met, I think, the next week. You were there the next time.
How about you? I would love to hear your side of that story. How did that come about for you when David was just like, hey, do you want to come to this like breakfast thing? And like, what's your side of that story?
Well, he actually asked me several times, and I was hesitant because what I couldn't get from him was a clear answer to whether or not he had talked to you guys about it. Because I didn't want to kind of just show up unannounced, sort of.
Yeah.
But yeah, eventually I guess he was persistent in inviting me, and so I figured I should at the very least come and have a look. And I showed up, and it was really nice. I enjoyed it, and I found it very like I said, I think it is beautiful what we are doing here together in this community, and I understood that this was something I wanted to be a part of. Well, firstly, the Bible study that we have, the breakfast and Bible study, and then later when you talk to me about the church, I kind of took some convincing maybe, but it's something I wanted to be a part of.
Yeah, very cool. We'll be talking about that as well. What you were, your thought process, I guess, in saying yes, or what made you eventually want to join us. But I think what was interesting about that Saturday, it was that I think it was like the first one after Skeptics Week when we first started inviting like a bunch of people.
Yeah.
And we weren't there, and there were like a bunch of people, right? You're the only one of the three of us who was there. So
Yeah.
there was like a bunch of people there for like the first time, and it's ironic because we weren't even there to like see all of it.
Yeah.
It was Whitney Allen and Motown who got to deal with it. So very cool. Jon, right? Jon, so good to have you here. I wanted to talk to you about your story, just growing up in Norway, a place that we came to do missions and evangelism and church planting here. Maybe share with us as much as you would like your background in Christianity, Christian themes, when you became a Christian, what led to that, what you were dealing with that. This is kind of the moment. This is kind of the part where I just love to give the floor to you to just tell us your story. Like I'll just leave that there. Go ahead and just start off with that.
Yeah, so I grew up in a Christian family. It's something I'm thankful for, and it basically looked like this. I went to Sunday school. I went to church with my family, and that's, I guess, pretty normal for. It's a pretty normal story, really.
It's a normal story in American context. Is it normal in Virginia also?
Well, I guess it's less normal because we're fewer Christians, but what happened then? Like I've always thought of myself as a Christian, and the kind of Christian side of my life was from the beginning, when I was kind of becoming a teenager, it became to be difficult because there was some kind of perceived, from my side at least, I saw it as a bit awkward and a bit weird to be a Christian. Like getting into school, it's not something I wanted to talk about, and it's I didn't have that many friends who were also Christians. And also I did have the experience that I wasn't always as eager to go to church with my family. And so that was probably the reason why I kind of stopped going to the same church as my family, and instead started going to a youth group in a different church, actually in the Norwegian church, because my family have always been a part of this other church that's outside of the Norwegian church.
Sure.
But while I was going to what you call ungdomsskolen, what would you call that in English?
Middle school.
Middle school.
Yeah.
And also high school. I went to this youth group in the Norwegian church, and that was like my Christian community, where I had several friends who were Christians. And then as I was finishing high school and moving on to being a student, that's when I kind of had I had some questions that really didn't I was wondering why people believe in God, because going through school in Norway, you get taught like natural sciences, and it's taught with a confidence that kind of makes you not ask very many questions. Like it seems like everything is solved and understood in a way. And so with that impression and not having been exposed to a lot of the Christian thinking around philosophy and stuff, I didn't really know that there were any good arguments to actually believe in God. So there was a lot of doubt in my mind about whether it was even possible for God to exist. Then on another hand, I think I was never really that committed to my Christian faith. It was more of a thing that was in my family. And by the time I became a student, I also left the youth group, and so I didn't really have much to do with Christians at all in my daily life, except from my family.
And becoming a student, that's when you went to university.
Yes. Yeah, that's what I mean. Yeah.
Sure.
So yeah, to go into some more detail, I guess I went to study in Stavanger, which is the largest city near where I grew up. And the reason I did that is because I wasn't ready to move out. So I just commuted to this university in a different city and studied there. And this, so together with me being very much in doubt about my Christian faith, I was also kind of struggling on a few different areas in my life because I think since my teenage years, I had been kind of struggling with my view of my own body because something that happened in middle school, I guess, is you get an experience of when you go through puberty. Suddenly you start to become more self-conscious, and I also felt like I was being judged. And I do remember some occasions where maybe someone called me like fat or something like this, and I think that led me also to like becoming like scared of social situations. I think I had I never had like a diagnosis or anything, but I think I had social anxiety for many years. And so while I was going through this doubt as a Christian, I was also not being social at all. I spent most of my time playing video games at home, and I had a very small circle of friends. That was like my first 3 years as a student. Yeah,
but so it sounds like a pretty intense time. I mean, going through a lot, and I tend to think that having talked to like teenagers about it in middle school and in high school, that I think these are the kinds of things I think a lot of teenagers and kids like internalize, but may not express very often.
Yeah.
I don't know how many people you were talking to about this at the time.
Zero.
Yeah. Okay. There you go. Yeah. So
Hey,
I
boys, anyone else feel weird about their bodies?
it's like, yeah. So I think that's true for a lot of people.
Yes.
I think that's true. Even as young adults too, internalize those kinds of things, and there's not, maybe even if there are, at least it doesn't feel like there's very many safe places to express that. And so that sounds like a pretty intense thing you were dealing with.
Yeah. Of course, it kind of seemed like normal to me at the time. Like I didn't know any other way of living. Maybe I could think back on my childhood, but it was difficult. I don't think I was ever like properly depressed, because I've heard people talk about being depressed, and I don't recognize myself in that. But what I would say is just I had very few moments of actual happiness, and I didn't really have any joy during those years. So definitely a change was needed in my life. And so when I finished my bachelor's in computer science, in studying in Stavanger, I kind of knew that something had to change.
Definitely.
I also decided that I wanted to continue studying, at least for a master's degree, which is 2 more years here in Norway. So I had one of my friends who also went to the same study program at university. He was planning to go to Trondheim.
Yeah.
And so I thought, well, that's a good place to go anyway, because one of our most prestigious universities, NTNU, is up there. And they have a computer science program. So I was planning to go there with him. And so we applied and waited for the response. But then when it came, it told me my application was rejected.
Oh.
And that was very surprising because I was expecting that my grades were good enough, and it turns out they were. But I was lacking some maths course that for some reason they only require at that specific university, and it was optional in my bachelor's program.
Yeah.
So that was a bummer, which I actually, that was a really sad thing, because then suddenly my plans of going somewhere with a friend kind of went. We have this saying it went up in ashes, I guess. Is that an English saying?
Yeah.
Gone up in flames.
Gone up in flames. Yeah. So I did have some alternatives, and one of them was to continue in Stavanger.
Okay.
Another one was to go way up north to Tromsø.
Yes.
And so I considered these two, and I thought, well, I already decided I didn't want to stay in Stavanger, so shouldn't stay there. And then I looked at Tromsø, and I was like, okay, it's a place that's almost as far away as I can get from my home and my family in Norway. And it's also dark for several months, like completely dark. The sun doesn't rise.
Yeah.
I thought that's not a very good idea if I'm not feeling very joyous and happy.
Yeah.
And so my last
Let's go further into the darkness.
Yeah. Well, and so many of our American friends, that's something that snuck up on us. Everybody warned us about it. But when we got here, even in Oslo, we have very long nights for several months. Finally, I just noticed today, finally, it seems like the days and nights are evening out, which is nice. But it's hard to explain what it does to your body and your psyche to have that much darkness in your day. And in Tromsø, they have just straight up darkness. Yeah,
it's crazy. I think I, at least, forget every summer how dark it is in the winter.
Yeah.
Sure.
And it's intense, even here in the south of Norway. Yeah, but going back to my story, the last alternative was not something I'd ever imagined, which was to go to Oslo. And the reason I'd never imagined it is because in my friend circle, Oslo was kind of mocked a little bit, because we're like small city guys who look on like city dwellers with a little bit of what do you call it? We look down upon them at least.
Sure.
Yeah.
I think they're a bit weird.
I have a buddy who lives here now called Aslak Olnestad, and he's from very near where you're from. And same thing, he's a farm boy who drove a tractor to school, and and now he's a city boy.
Yeah. and I actually only added Oslo as an option on the last day before university applications closed. I don't even really know why I did it. I think I just were looking over my options. I was confident I would get my choice, which was Trondheim. But then for some reason I decided to add Oslo. And then when Trondheim was no longer an option, then suddenly Oslo was my best option.
Yeah.
And so I decided to come here to study at the University of Oslo. And this was also in the beginning of the pandemic, or at least in Norway. This was summer 2020. Yeah, 2020, and the pandemic was just starting to spread across the country.
Yeah.
And so this is when I'm moving to the biggest city, where I actually knew no one. I actually had no friends who lived there, and I was not very social, and it doesn't sound like a recipe for success, really.
Sure.
Yeah.
But I went anyway.
Yeah. And that was to study, at the University of Oslo. What was the master's in?
Informatics.
Informatics.
Yeah.
Okay, gotcha. Where did you move to in Oslo? Like, where were you living once you got here?
Yeah, that was the first problem I had to solve, because
Okay.
I think this all happened in June, and our term starts in August. So I didn't have that much time to figure out all of this. Luckily, I was actually on a vacation with my family, and we were in the east, pretty close to Oslo, and my dad actually, he somewhat often travels to Oslo to go to board meetings in different companies. He works in a Christian organization, so he's involved with some of the different Christian organizations in Norway. And he usually would or sometimes would get a room at Fjellhaug, which is a Bible school, but they also offer rooms for students. And so he suggested I apply there, and so I did. I also found an apartment that I applied to. I don't remember who had it, but some kind of student organization, I think. It was not CEO, but someone else, I think. And I got response from them first, and it was a single apartment with it was self-sufficient in a way, like it had its own kitchen and stuff, but it was really small, and it was a very small kitchen. But they replied very quickly, and so I guess I decided to wait to see if I would hear from Fjellhaug as well, and I think the next day I heard back from them, and they also gave me an offer, and so I had to choose. And this was actually like it was not an obvious choice, because at Fjellhaug you're not fully self-sufficient. You have your own bathroom and shower, and you have like a room to sleep in, but then you share a kitchen with 10 maybe 12 other people. And so me having some social anxiety, it was actually like, well, it would be really nice not to have to see anyone throughout my day. But then I guess also I would save some money living at Fjellhaug, and also I did realize that I needed to have some social interactions. So
and
I
at least
decided,
sharing a kitchen is a pretty easy way in.
pretty easy.
Right.
That's
No, but
easier
I-
than sharing a bathroom.
That's true.
Yeah.
That's true. But I do remember actually that I would sometimes like kind of wait as long as I could to go to the kitchen to get food.
Until everyone's asleep.
Yeah.
Or until I was too hungry.
You wake up at
Yeah.
5 a.m. to make your breakfast
Yeah, I
before everyone
kind
else.
of tried to avoid people sometimes, yeah. But I got a room there, and I moved in and started my studying, and then things were pretty good actually, because I got invited to a church and to play some board games by one of the guys who was living there. But then things were not so good, because COVID really hit Oslo hardest of all places in Norway. And so Oslo locked down in November 2020, and then didn't really open up until after like June maybe 2021. And so I actually ended up going back home for that period. And it was funny because I kept my room at Fjellhaug because I was assuming, well, Oslo has got to open up soon. So I was always in that mindset, well, it's got to open up soon. 1 more month maybe, then it'll open up. But then suddenly like more than 6 months had passed.
Sure.
But I still moved back, and I continued with my studies. Most of my courses were finished by then, and I was working on my thesis, so that kind of meant that the only interactions I had with people at university, or the only people I interacted with, were my supervisor and whoever was working on a project in the same office space as me. So I never really had a lot of interaction with the other students in my faculty.
Yeah.
But the one thing that did change as I came back was there were a few new people who showed up in the what do you call it? I just call it the hallway, I guess, because we have one hallway of rooms that are connected to the same kitchen, and so in the hallway.
That's a perfect description. I've been there and I've seen it. That's exactly what it's like.
Right.
It's like you walk down a hotel room hallway, and the doors on either side are rooms until you get to one of the doors, and it's a kitchen.
But it's not a very nice hotel, though.
Yeah.
It's like maybe two at a stretch stars.
Yeah.
It's not a
probably
quality
1
inn.
star. Some of my friends have called it a prison.
Oh my gosh.
I've never been to. Well, yeah, I guess that would look like prison in Norway.
Could you say like a dorm or something like that for all intents and purposes?
Sure, like an apartment building or a door. It's a
It
hallway.
does look like a hotel hallway.
Okay.
Yeah.
Like a hotel hallway with like a kitchen down the hall.
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. And so you said something did change when you came back. So this is in 2021, right?
Yes.
Like around June 2021 or
No, actually, this was after the summer.
Okay,
Yeah.
so like August, September.
Yes.
This is when we
I
had
was in
moved to
August.
Oslo, so we were all living here.
Oh, wow, that's
we were all
right.
in the same place in the world and didn't know it yet.
Because we had our own struggle of like, oh, when's Oslo going to open? After we bought the
we got
tickets.
here during lockdown. That was a crazy part of our story. Won't spend time on it now, but we got here during crazy Corona madness.
Masks everywhere, 1 meter apart. Yeah,
it's
stuff like
special like exceptions to the rules that got us here. It was crazy.
But yeah, so there was in August, September time, something did change. Yeah.
Yeah, and it was the people, of course. And the reason it matters so much to me is because one of these new people, a German exchange student, she invited me to a Bible study group. And this Bible study group, for me, was kind of a turning point. And so let me try to paint a little picture of this Bible study group. So it was a student group run by Lage, which is an organization you guys have worked a lot with.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll play the applause sound effect here too.
Yeah, we've talked about him a few times. I mean, we love Laga. We don't have too many good things to say about them. We have,
we can't run out of good things to
we
say.
can't find enough good things to say about them. That's right. They're amazing. Is all I'm trying to say. We love them, anyways.
Yeah. So they have a international student group called Christian Union. And so I was invited to this group, and I started going. And what I experienced there was, in one thing that I noticed was the people there who were, even in tough times, they were very friendly. They were very loving and generous. And I also found it to be like challenging to me. We were doing Bible studies and talking about what we were reading in the Bible, and I realized at that point I don't really know a lot about the Bible. And but I should explain, this group meets weekly, and we also eat a meal together. And so to me, this became like a family kind of fellowship. And I have a lot of friends still that I see weekly who I got to know there. And so I think through the Bible studies and also through kind of getting to know these people, there are like a couple of things I realized. One thing was that Christians talk a lot about giving your life to Christ. And for me, that had always been kind of a hard teaching because I didn't want to give up control to someone I didn't know.
Sure.
You know, what if God calls me to some faraway corner in the world?
Yeah, like Oslo.
Imagine that.
Imagine that, right?
Yeah.
And so that idea was very unattractive to me until I saw how these people were living and how they were happy and content, and they were doing their best to follow God wherever He led them. And I looked at my own life and I saw, well, there's not much to see really. I'm playing video games most of my time, and I'm scared of social situations still. And well, that was where I got on my own. And so, let me think. A second thing that I noticed I think it was just, yeah, like I said, the way of people, like the who went there, there was something different about them.
Yeah.
And so I guess I wanted to kind of become more like them.
Yeah.
And so I started to study the Bible on my own, also because I wanted to be able to contribute in the Bible studies.
Yeah.
And somehow I found the Bible Project and started watching their videos and listening to the podcast. And for me, that became like a new interest. Like I realized the Bible is actually very interesting and it's very deep and it's actually beautiful to study it. And so I started reading the Bible, and I think it was in the end of the year. A second thing that happened is that I somehow got introduced to apologetics.
Yeah.
It was actually my father who showed me a movie about C.S. Lewis.
Yeah.
And
Was
this
it
was
the
first
most
time.
reluctant convert? Or something
Exactly,
like that? Is
that's
that
the
one?
movie,
Yeah.
yeah.
Nice.
And this was the first time that I was actually like faced with arguments for God that were making sense to me. And so those two kind of what do you call it? Like blockages? No, not blockages. Obstacles.
Yeah. Barriers.
Barriers
Yeah.
for me. The idea of commitment and the idea of or my struggle with doubt. They were kind of just removed in just a short time in a couple of months.
Wow.
And
Yeah.
so, well, like I said, I've thought of myself as a Christian for all of my life, but I think at that point is when I really decided that I wanted to follow Christ.
Yeah.
And since then, like I've been through some very good times where I've felt that God has been leading me. So one thing I did was go to Bible school after I finished my master's. And the reason I went to Bible school is mostly because I wanted to experience more international community of among Christians.
Yeah.
And so I went to a Bible school in Germany.
And can you give us a 2-sentence description of what Bible school is?
Oh, right.
Yeah. It might be a little different for
I think
here
I've heard-
versus America.
I heard Americans talk about Bible college.
Yeah.
Right.
But
yeah.
is that more academic, maybe?
Uh-huh. I went to Bible college.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
Usually it is more academic.
I would have said I went to Bible college, but I
Yeah.
went to a university where I earned a degree in philosophy
Right.
with a minor in biblical studies.
Yeah.
So it was a Christian university,
Sure.
is what we might call Bible college. And then there are some smaller schools that are Bible colleges where you earn a degree in some religious topic.
Yeah.
But we may have Bible schools in the United States and in California, but if we do, I was never aware of them.
Right.
Yeah. But so tell us what
Bible
you mean.
school is much more about life rather than academia. Like it's the purpose is to be equipped for living life as a Christian, as a committed Christian.
Yeah.
And so we did learn how to study the Bible, but the focus was always how to apply it and how it should impact our lives.
That's so cool.
It's discipleship.
Right. Yeah. I love that.
And so I
Yeah.
did that for 6 months. And I, to kind of explain how this put me on a path to where I am now, I read a book in Bible school called Saturate.
Woo!
Yep.
And
Applause sound effect.
Yes.
it's a book that talks about missional community.
There it is.
And this was the most kind of beautiful vision of life that I had ever encountered. And I just knew that somehow I wanted to have that in my own life. And when I came back from Bible school, I was kind of wondering how am I gonna achieve this?
Yeah.
Is it something I need to create on my own?
You're still living in Oslo at the time?
Well, I moved back to stay with my parents for a few
Okay.
months, and then I moved a few months later to Oslo to start working.
Yeah. Okay.
But then, as you already know, turns out I didn't have to start this missional community thing on my own, because somehow God led me to you guys through my roommate.
Yeah.
And as I heard that you were starting a missional community, I was just like, oh, that's very interesting.
Yeah.
And then, after thinking about it for some weeks and getting to know you, and also like, I'd also been wanting to find some more discipleship focused community, because I go to a very actually I would say very big, but it's actually a small church, I guess, compared to what you
compared
guys
to what we're
to.
used to. But it's a big church in Oslo.
Yeah, called
Yeah.
Storsalen.
Yeah. The
with
big hall.
The big, it's called the Great Hall.
Yeah. The Great Hall. Yes.
So I go there, and there are a few hundred people there, or a couple hundred. But I always knew that, or I could feel that I wanted something more personal and more like family. And so that's my journey getting here. That's my life really with God, and I'm so happy that I met the correct people and that I didn't get into university in Trondheim. And I guess, to kind of finish the story, I had one experience while I was still a student in Oslo, reflecting back. This was after I'd been going to the Bible study for several months. I think I got a message from God, and it was like a thought that just appeared in my mind, and it said, "I brought you here." And then it immediately appeared to me like how I'd been kind of put in Oslo without really planning to be there, how my applying to University of Oslo was almost accidental, and I just knew, okay, that was actually God. He was leading me even though I didn't want to be led. And so, I think it's been less stressful to be just trying to be following God instead of him having to divert me, but I'm so thankful that he did.
Me too.
Yeah, me too as well. I mean, so I think what's so awesome, and you already answered the other question I was going to ask you, but I love that. But thank you. But I mean, I think that anyone who's listening very carefully to your story can see clearly, I think, just the sovereignty of God moving in your hardship.
Yeah.
And even in your happy times and in times of difficulty, and how he was preparing you to do something that you find already by yourself fulfillment in and joy in. And you're like, yes, I want to do that. Even in Oslo, right?
Yeah.
Like I want to do that.
Yeah.
So amazing. Like the coincidences are like, well, they're not coincidences, I don't think, because I think it's just it's the sovereign hand of God moving, bringing you to Oslo at the same time as us, in a period that's probably very difficult of doubt, of anxiety, and a lot of things that I'm sure a lot of people can relate to, and I can relate to absolutely. And how he used that to prepare you for the thing that now, from where I'm sitting, I can see it on your face, and how you serve with us excites your heart, and gets your heart ready for ministry and doing that.
Yeah.
And I just, I'm blown away. I love it. I think that's altar worthy. If you listen to our podcast before, we talk about our altars, or the things that we've seen God do in the world for us, how he's blessed us in ways we haven't deserved. And
so we build a pile of rocks. We remember. Actually, we keep a list.
We have a list.
We have a list of miracles.
Because that's something we talk about, how we're prone to forget. We're like,
humans are prone to forget. Look at what the Israelites did over and over. So God said, pile up some rocks, make an altar, right? Over and over again. We're going to make an altar, and we're going to name this place so we don't forget. And so we try not to forget.
Right. Yeah. He brought you the right people, put you in the right place with the right doubts to have at the time, so that they could be overcome. Got you the right books, Mere Christianity and Saturate, to prepare your heart for the thing that makes you excited now. And I just love that. I think that's a great story, man.
And it's been so far, we haven't known each other that long, but just in the short time we've known each other, been such a blessing to get to know you better, and to see, we talked about it, I think it was in the last episode was the last one or the one before that? It doesn't matter. When a recent episode, we talked about becoming a church plant and how we're trying to meet the right kind of people. And how does that work? And how do we meet people in a natural way? It's slightly contrived, but slightly natural. And anyways, and all of these things. And to see that God has brought us all together and see this new community starting to develop and learning to be friends with one another and see, I don't know. I have a lot to say, but I don't have very good words for it. But all that's to say, it's even so far has been so wonderful getting to spend time together and to experience what it's like to be with people, with you in particular, but with people in general who, like, our lives are aimed the same way, and we have and we want to accomplish the same things, and we have the same goals. It's just really beautiful. It's one of those things that I don't know that I doubted that God would do it, but was still sort of pleasantly surprised to see it start happening.
It's funny how that works.
Yeah, looking back, it's just so crazy how different my life was and how it is now. Like I was talking about how I used to have social anxiety, but I guess it turns out if you expose yourself to Bible studies and Bible school where we live close to each other, it turns out that can go away. And especially when you are kind of trying to take in the teaching of Jesus, that you are loved and that you are acceptable to God when you repent. And so we don't need to look out at other people and try to strive for something more than we are. It's enough for God that we humbly follow Him and try to do what's right.
Yeah, beautiful, man. Couldn't have said it better myself, so I won't. But thank you for coming on, man. It was great listening to your story, and I look forward to so much. I'm so happy with the journey that we've already been on, that we've already started. I'm looking forward to so much down the road. And I'd love to have you on again to talk about something else and explore different topics with you, brother.
Yeah, I'd love to.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much, John Ingve. And thank you so much for listening, wherever you are. I hope you appreciated this story. I hope it encourages you, strengthens your faith, and I hope it prepares you for what God has placed on your heart and what God calls you to next in your life, which is hopefully seeing you again next week, listening to Word First Radio. God bless.
Thank you for listening to Word First Radio. Be sure to like, subscribe, and check us out online at wordfirst.us.